Good morning, delegates. My question is for the delegate of India. So yesterday, the delegate of India mentioned to provide support and safety to the healthcare workers. Whereas recently there have been a sorrowful incident in West Bengal where a health worker was brutally raped and murdered till death on 9th and 10th August, marking exactly 3 months while its underdog is enjoying its time in jail. Would it take another 8 to 10 years to convict the result just like Nirbhaya in 2012?
Yes, I would like to say that the government of India has taken bold steps implementing stricter laws, establishing fast-track courts and launching national campaigns to raise awareness and fight gender-based violence. However, we know that legal reforms are only one part of the solution. We must shift mindsets, educate our communities, and create an environment where women feel safe, heard, and empowered. India does not shy away from confronting these difficult issues. We are working to build a society where every woman, everywhere, can live free from fear. And as we gather here today, we call on the international community to unite this fight against violence, against silence, and against the systematic inequality that allows these crimes to happen.
But like it's today exactly it marks 3 months of the incident. But nothing much has happened. The underdog is still enjoying its time in jail, while the parents of the accused are still depressed and hoping for the best to happen. What does India can provide for the to ensure safety plus the ensurement that further this could not happen again?
See, I understand that the case mentioned, it's a horrific reminder of the violence and injustice that women face daily, not just in India, but across the globe. However, the government has tried its best to take the necessary steps, including stricter laws, etc.
So, firstly, a happy immunization day to all of you. And my question is for the delegate of China. China has made remarkable strides in healthcare. But with the recent challenges faced during the pandemic, do you think China has learned the art of the public health, or should we be preparing for a sequel?
China will be fine.
What was the clarification?
So my question is for the delegate of Pakistan. So recently when Trump got elected as the president of the USA, the former leader of Pakistan who is currently in jail, Imran Khan, wished and congratulated him. Given that the Trump's hawkishness on China, does Pakistan find itself being caught between wanting to improve relations with the US but still maintain its close strategic alliance with China?
No, China and Pakistan have been in a diplomat and a good relation from the starting, and I don't think Pakistan is trying to improve its relation and trying to corner any country.
Delegate of Switzerland. Firstly, congratulations to the delegate of Switzerland for ranking first in the World Index of Healthcare Organization. Apart from that, we often hear that health is wealth, but your country seems to prove that with its high-quality healthcare system. How would you respond to the critics who say that healthcare innovation in Switzerland is a luxury rather than a necessity?
I guess the Swiss people can afford it because we have a high literacy rate as well as we have I guess we have a high GDP per capita, so I guess they can afford it. And if this is a problem, then we'll try to combat it in the future.
So my question is for the delegate of Republic of South Korea. So in 2023, South Korea's immunization rate for children was approximately 96.4%, which is quite interesting, indicating strong vaccination coverage overall. However, the country faces significant demographic challenges as its fertility rate has reduced to 0.72, the lowest in the world, down from 0.78 in 2022. Also, the suicide rate in South Korea is quite high. What measures have you taken to prevent this?
So basically these are demographic changes. So firstly, with context to the immunization agenda 2030, yes, we need to address this because the vaccines need to be according to the population. So if there is more of elder population, like Korea has been constantly increasing in elder population. So we need to keep more vaccines for the elder population as compared to the younger population. And coming to suicide rates, Korea always believes in the well-being of its citizens, and we will try to decrease these rates. So we'll take some steps and change our laws to create a safer environment for all its citizens.
Delegate of Pakistan. So Pakistan got anti-terrorism budget sorted out. But when is the budget for anti-malaria coming through? Nowadays your doctor even need a bodyguard. What's Pakistan's strategy for getting medicine into the hands of the people who did rather fight than vaccinate?
I agree that Pakistan is not a safe country, but it's better from its past. I think that the vaccines should, everyone has the right for vaccines, and anti-malaria vaccines we will improve, we will make laws, we will try to make communications with doctors, influencers to get a better future.
Delegate of Republic of Congo, Nigeria and South Africa. These are some of the 9 major African regions which are hard hit by smallpox. As one delegate mentioned yesterday, they require funds and vaccines from developed countries which due to their colonial mindsets are just enjoying the throne of funds. Whereas according to a report published by WHO on 6 November, countries like Belgium, France, Germany, USA have provided them with vaccines to stop the monkeypox outbreak. So how would South Africa, Nigeria and Congo make the best from the aid provided to them?
The directors would be addressed to please do it.
Alright. The aid that has been provided by these countries, they have shown a significant statistical improvement. DRC has went from 35% during the 2018 Ebola outbreak to a total of 60% immunized children below the age of 5 just in 7 years? So yes, these aids have shown a statistical improvement, although we need more funds to completely immunize these countries.
Alright, so as for in South Africa, one thing is that we have gotten a lot of funds from many countries. In fact, Belgium is one of the highest exporter of vaccines. So the thing is that through the loans and the donations that we've received from other countries, we've vaccinated about 47 million people in our country. And the thing is that we're constantly developing with the help of these funds. But as South Africa had gained independence in 1994, our country was totally looted by the colonial people. So we don't have that kind of resources, and we need a lot of time to get back to the state, to get to the state of other developed countries. So it will be useful if these countries provide more funds rather than blaming us for not developing our country when we clearly don't have any funds, and our funds have been depleted by them.
But the thing is, the smallpox and monkeypox have been started spreading in the 2023 and in the 2024. So after that, they have provided you with the vaccines. So you should focus on the vaccine provided and then help the people who need, rather than focusing on they have looted us or in 1994 what happened.
The agenda on which we spoke was a lot broader than just smallpox and monkeypox. That is why it did not just include 2 diseases, but included various other diseases that have existed since a long time. So if you talk about smallpox and monkeypox, and we've, as you said, that they started in 2023 and 2024, it'll take some time for us to eradicate that kind of mentality that people in our country have and vaccinate all of them. So that is what we're doing. We to remove the vaccine hesitancy in our people, we have started a lot of programs. We are engaging with the public to make sure that they are actually understanding the importance of these vaccines and getting their doses. And we are trying to do it, because one thing is that we cannot force our public to get vaccinated, because that is against their rights. So we are just trying our best to make sure that they understand the importance of vaccines and get those smallpox and monkeypox vaccines as soon as possible.
Refrigeration units in remote areas, improving vaccine storage and distribution. But the point of yesterday's debate was not just to highlight their colonial mindset. It was that we in Nigeria only 36% is the vaccine coverage rate, and to increase that we need to decrease vaccine hesitancy. So what we were asking for was a system by which we could tackle vaccine hesitancy. We are not particularly requesting for funds. We want to increase the vaccine coverage rates. We have the vaccines, but for the people to get vaccinated, we need to curb the vaccine hesitancy. So that's why we were asking for a system which would help us rather than highlighting our weaknesses, to give us a system which would help us to curb the vaccine hesitancy and increase the vaccine immunization rate, which would give to the immunization agenda 2030.
And we have also donated a lot to the WHO and the Gavi Vaccine Alliance, for instance. So first of all, we would just say that we have been working really hard and equitably, and look, if we had to deliver the funds ourselves to countries, then we could have been biased. But if you're handing these funds to organizations like Gavi or WHO, then these funds are being allocated by the respective bodies in these organizations. So the funds are already being distributed equitably because they are in the hands of international bodies which look into the concerns of all member nations. And I will just say that our country offers the highest, is also offering maximum insurance coverage to all the citizens also, which also ensures that they are not forced, they are not uninsured when they need healthcare or they need money for vaccinations.
So
The USAID is the agency which grants donations to the various countries outside for their development. So as we have done the Global Infrastructure Vaccination Project for data management for vaccines and also infrastructure required for developing vaccines, and also to ensure that we align with the IA 2030's agenda, the CDC has made the strategic framework for 2021 to 2030. So these frameworks allow us to enable a policy to be both at home domestically to increase vaccine coverage, and over there the main focus is to remove vaccine hesitancy and misinformation about vaccines, because our population is facing sometimes filling in misinformation which is all around the world. It's not a problem that they don't want to take vaccinations, but there's a lot of vaccine hesitancy that's being created. So at home we mainly address that because we already have robust facilities to administer vaccines, and globally we believe to enhance the country's capability to deliver vaccines, they need to work on vaccine misinformation and also on superior logistics to make vaccines reach to the right place at the right time.